I didn't explain Bitcoin to my friend using charts. I didn't talk about price targets or predictions. I explained it in one very specific way, and something interesting happened. Not immediately, but a few weeks later. This friend of mine isn't stupid. He's smart, educated, rational. He has a good job, a savings account, a pension. In other words, he's doing everything society tells you to do correctly. But like most people, he thought Bitcoin was interesting, maybe, but unnecessary, risky, speculative, a bit extreme. So I didn't try to convince him. I just told him a story. I didn't say Bitcoin will go to 1 million. I didn't say you'll regret it if you don't buy now. And I definitely didn't say, trust me, bro, because the moment you do that, people stop listening. So instead, I asked him a simple question. I asked, do you trust the system you save your money in? He laughed and said, well, I don't love it. But what's the alternative? Good question. So I didn't answer it. I asked another one. I said, do you know how much money was created in the last few years? He didn't. Most people don't, honestly. So I didn't give him numbers. Instead, I gave him a comparison. I said, imagine you're playing a game, and every year the rules change slightly against you. Not enough to notice immediately, but enough that saving becomes harder. Working more feels pointless, and standing still means falling behind. He nodded because he already felt it. Higher prices, same salary, more pressure. I hadn't mentioned Bitcoin once. Then I said, now imagine there's a second game. Same world, same people, but the rules don't change. The supply is fixed. The rules are public. No one can bend them for convenience. I paused, and then I said, that's the only difference Bitcoin really offers. Not profit, rules. He didn't respond immediately. That's always a good sign, because, when people argue instantly, they're defending a position. When they go quiet, they're recalculating. Eventually he said, but Bitcoin is volatile. I smiled and said, yes, because it's honest. Volatility is what truth looks like in a manipulated world. Suppressed systems feel stable until they break. Bitcoin doesn't hide the stress. It shows it in real time. Then I said something that changed the tone completely. I said, you don't buy Bitcoin because you think it will go up. You buy it because you want an option, an exit, a hedge, a parallel system. Not instead of everything else, alongside it. I didn't tell him to go all in. I told him to do something boring. I said, buy a small amount, so small it doesn't scare you, and then do nothing. No trading, no watching charts, no panic, just ownership. Weeks passed. We didn't talk about Bitcoin again. That's important, because conviction doesn't form in conversation. It forms in silence. One evening, he messaged me, not excited, not panicked, just curious. He said, I think I finally get it. That sentence is rare. So I asked, what do you mean? He said, for the first time, I own something that doesn't require trust. Not in a bank, not in a politician, not in a promise, just rules. And suddenly, the price mattered less. This is the part most people miss. Bitcoin doesn't change your portfolio first. It changes your time horizon. When you stop measuring everything in months and start thinking in years, noise fades, fear weakens, and patience becomes an advantage. I didn't sell him Bitcoin. I let him discover a flaw in the system he already depended on. Bitcoin wasn't the story. The story was trust, and once that door opens, you can't close it again. Now let me be clear. This doesn't mean everyone should buy Bitcoin, but it does mean everyone should understand it. Because even if you never own any, it will still affect the world you live in. So if you're trying to explain Bitcoin to someone, don't start with charts, start with rules, start with incentives, start with the quiet question that makes people think, because the moment someone feels the problem, they'll find the solution themselves. And if you want to understand Bitcoin without hype, noise, or fear, you're in the right place.